Hey everyone, my name is Jennifer. I'm a broker slash consultant in the payment processing world, and I'm very honored to have been invited to the summit to discuss this topic. I've helped several businesses reduce what they spend by tens of thousands, and my number one goal for today is to really educate you on what I think are the things you don't know that you don't know as they pertain to credit card processing, how to negotiate, and all that kind of good stuff. And my background is food and beverage. Mostly I work with bars and restaurants nowadays. And before we even get started, I want to make it really clear that I am not a video expert. My media is not going to be super razzle dazzle. So if you would lower your expectations with regards to my graphics and to my video editing, I'm pretty much going to do this in one shot. I'm going to be as authentic as I can. I'm going to speak straight to you. And again, my goal is to really educate you and leave you with information that makes you a better shopper and hopefully helps you, whether you're an owner or whether you're a vendor that cares a lot about your owners, help you save a lot of money on a commodity, on payment processing. So let's talk about it. First off, why should we care about credit card and debit card processing? Well, money, of course, most importantly. Every single business in America has to pay for the ability to accept credit and debit card payments. That's payment processing. The thing is, most people don't realize that these rates are negotiable and not everybody pays the same. Here's a client of mine that I took over a few years ago. He was with Square. His restaurant was using Square. And when I converted him over, he's now paying about 1.82% out the door. If he was using Square, and this doesn't even take into consideration online transactions, which are much more expensive, he would be paying about $2,500 more a month. So he's not doing that. So realistically, this restaurant here saved about $3,000 a month by being a smart shopper. Now, this was a couple of years ago. His rate's probably a little higher now because the card brands raise them each year. But here's a bar in Minnesota. This is a recent statement. They're paying 2.33%. This is a restaurant out in West Virginia paying 2.14%. So I show you this just to show you what's possible. In my experience, bars and restaurants pay effective rate somewhere between about 2% and 2.7%. Square, Toast, and a lot of these other guys out there, they start higher than that. Now, the question you want to ask yourself, number one, is what is your effective rate? And number two, if you could reduce that by 1 to 2%, what would that mean in dollars? So first off, how do you get your percentage? How do you know what percentage you're paying? It's pretty simple. You divide fees charged into amount submitted. That will give you a percentage. Now, most bars and restaurants that I take a look at their processing, they're usually paying a little bit above 3%. So I don't know what you're paying or your clients if you're a vendor, but if you do the math, then you can figure it out. Let's just say that you're paying 3.33%. That's 1% higher than this bar. If this bar was paying 1% more than they are now, that would translate to about $1,782 a month. That's a lot of money. That's another employee. That's pay raises. That's a vacation for the owners. That's upgrade to equipment. That's a lot less worry. It's a lot. It's really a lot of money. And so I implore you to understand how credit card processing works. Now let's talk about how you or your clients can pay less for credit card processing. First off, you're going to hear me talk about getting a partner a lot. I'm going to actually drill down into what kind of partner you should be looking for, not somebody you go out and pay. There's, mutually beneficial agreements already out there that exist. I'm going to expose you to. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to teach you how to find a good partner. But ahead of time, I want to just teach you a little bit about how credit card processing works. There are a couple of different pricing structures. It's important to know what they are and why. So cost plus pricing, flat rate pricing, and dual pricing is kind of the three main ones. Okay, but I'm going to start with the first two. Cost plus pricing simply means that you're going to pay the true cost on each card that comes through from Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover, plus a pre-negotiated rate on top of that. Somebody like me is the person who's going to get you that pre-negotiated rate. It shouldn't really be more than 0.50%. That's kind of high. Most of my restaurants, I'm able to get between 0.10 and 0.25%. Some a little bit higher, some a little bit lower, but in general, that's kind of what we're looking for. And so, it's convoluted because you don't know what the cost is. So I pulled this sample of one of my customers' cost. Hopefully you can see it on the video. This is basically, we call this their interchange detail, and it shows you all the different kinds of cards they took in a single month and what how much they billed against those cards, and then what the cost was. So I highlighted some big billers. So this particular card, a bunch of people came in. Looks like 31 guests used this card, and the sales were 6,500, and the price on this card is 2.65 and 10 cents. That's high. That's higher than Square. Ooh, bad, right? You get scared about that. But look down here where it's $7,414 worth, and the price is 1.19 and 10 cents. That's way less than that 2.6 Square's charging. So you can see this one here is $18,000 worth at 0.05% and 22 cents a transaction. This drives the cost down a lot. So cost plus is always in the best interest of the owner of the bar or the restaurant or any business, really, because it is literally the most transparent. You know exactly what you're paying above cost. In the restaurant world, it would be like if you have a restaurant and you have your menu, it shows your prices, and the prices are consistent with your cost plus a 10% margin, if that's what you're trying to get. Okay. The other, and I tell you that because it's by comparison, the other way that you see it out there is called flat rate pricing. So Square is notorious for this. Sometimes Toast does it. A lot of companies are going to flat rate pricing structure, but this will never be in your best interest, because to offer a flat rate price, the company has to price you high enough to hedge against the fluctuation of cost. They don't know what cards you're going to take. So flat rate pricing in the restaurant world is a lot like a buffet. If you owned a buffet, you hope that a little old lady who eats like a bird walks through your door, but you have to price your buffet, especially if you only have one price. You've got to price it in case someone like my ex-husband walks in and wants to get his money's worth, right? So if you're running a buffet, you can't price that buffet at your cost plus 10%, because somebody might come in and eat you out of house and home. And so you've got to price it high enough to fluctuate, to hedge against the fluctuation. Same thing with credit card processing. So flat rate pricing is super transparent. People go, oh yeah, I know what I'm paying. It's the same every single time. But that's not necessarily a good thing. It's very expensive. And so now you know. Dual pricing, we'll talk about dual pricing. Basically, what that means is that you can offer now your customers the option to pay cash or debit or credit. If they choose credit, there's a 3 or 4% surcharge basically added to that transaction, and that 3 or 4% is carved out, and that's used to pay your credit card processing fees. This is how businesses pay little to nothing on credit card processing. So if you're a bar or restaurant or a hotel and you're paying, $3, 4, 7, 8, $9,000 a month in credit card processing fees, this is a way essentially to disperse those credit card processing fees in really small chunks to customers. Now, people love this or they hate it. People have really strong feelings about this program. I'm neither here nor there. I'm just here to tell you it exists and it's legal. It's not going anywhere. It's actually gaining in popularity. We used to see it mostly at gas stations when we paid bills online and so forth, but now you're really seeing it at convenience stores, you're seeing it at fast casual restaurants, you're seeing it at a lot of coffee shops, and you're starting to see it in the restaurant and the bar space. So if you have questions about this, we could talk more. I don't want to dive too deep. Just know that it's available. So you're still probably going, well, how do I negotiate? What do I ask for? What do I say? Knowing the different pricing structures will help. Being set up correctly also matters, right? And so if you have a partner, somebody who understands payment processing, they're going to make sure to understand your business. But if you don't, you should understand what to ask for. So for example, if you're a fast casual restaurant counter service, people are coming and they're paying at the counter, and your check average is $35, $40, $50, $60 per check, you should definitely be taking PIN debit. That just means you've got a device that allows people, once they put their debit card in, that the PIN pad pops up and they put that in. Doing that reduces your fees on those transactions all the way down to 0.05% and 22 cents a transaction. That's a huge savings. So knowing how to be set up and making good decisions with regards to your operation matter. And I want to talk about finding a partner. And so before we move into the point of sale discussion, when I talk about finding a partner, I'm going to explain to you how I'm set up, but I want you to know I'm happy to work with anybody from the summit, but I'm also happy to share with you how you can find somebody like me and what you should be looking for in your own network if you would rather use somebody else. Okay. I don't mind. That's fine by me. But here's how I'm set up. And many people across the United States are as well. So to some degree, I'm a broker. I'm a free agent. What that means is that I'm partnered with a variety of companies. Some of them are processing companies and some of them are POS companies, but essentially I'm a middleman. And so I like to use the example of a healthcare insurance agent. We all understand insurance agents, brokers, right? Let's say you needed healthcare insurance. You have two choices. You can Google and find all the healthcare insurance companies in your area, call them all up, talk to a salesperson who really doesn't care, and it's going to only tell you the good things anyway. Or you can find somebody that will take a little bit extra work to find, but you find somebody who is a middleman and who represents a variety of companies. This person isn't going to recommend a company they know is bad. First of all. Second of all, what they're going to do is they're going to ask you, tell me all about your health concerns, about your family. You got the kids, you've got the husband, you got, if you're like me, you're saying like, well, I'm going blind, but I'm on the wrong side of 40 and I'm just not ready to admit it. This person is going to gather all the information. They're going to come back and say, here are the companies I recommend and here's why. This company checks off all your boxes and their customer service is excellent. This company over here has really low premiums, but I've heard they're really hard to get claims paid, so I would make them my last resort. This one over here I like as well. They also offer dental, and they check off most of your boxes. You're not going to get 3 exams a year, but you're going to get 2. Now, this person is knowledgeable. They know the good and the bad of all of these companies, whereas you would never know that on your own. The other reason you want to find a partner is because when we bring a client to a company, we represent several clients, and oftentimes we get better deals, better processing rates, better, sometimes special deals on POSs. But when you're finding a partner, you want to understand how we get paid. Payment processing agents are either paid 1099 as contractors or they're paid W-2 employees. I would avoid the W-2 employees and I would find somebody who's paid as a 1099 contractor, and here's why. We get paid a small percentage of the profit off your processing every single month that you remain our customer. Every single month. So we don't get a salary. I don't get an hourly wage. I don't get a bonus for signing you up as my customer. I'm not going to sign you up and say, see you later. I only get paid if you're still my client. Find somebody who is paid as a 1099 contractor because they're going to check your statements every handful of months. They're going to make sure that you're happy. If you're not, they're going to make sure to switch you to another company that will make you happy. They're going to be there on Saturday night when you have a question because your server didn't enter her tip correctly. Find somebody who's vested in your business. We want to be your partner. It serves us to serve you. So let's talk about point of sale discussion, because what has happened is the POS world has changed. In my day, it was Aloha and Micros. Now it's 15,000 companies and half of them are the same as the other. They're just white labeled. It's crazy. And so as a partner, I've evolved into helping my clients find the right point of sale system. So going back to the healthcare insurance agent, essentially, if you find a good partner that's got some experience in food and beverage, they probably have a lot of customers who are also bars and restaurants, and they know what's good and what's not. For example, I had a bar that I got to them, unfortunately, it was too late. They went with Lightspeed point of sale, not Upserve, but Lightspeed. They're a bar. You can't even do a pre-authorization on a credit card with Lightspeed. Why would you ever put that in a bar? Well, because they didn't know what they didn't know. They talked to a salesperson. The salesperson wanted to make a sale. They didn't say, by the way, you can't pre-authorize credit cards. Is that okay? No, I gotta say that. Somebody like me would have said, Lightspeed's not a good choice, and here's why. So they spent all this money, got this POS installed, and it doesn't even work the way that it should. Now they're in a 12-month contract they can't get out of. So POSs are there's so many really cool ones out there. I have a little do's and don'ts. Do find a good partner. Okay, talked about that. Do make a wish list. Really think through what you want. Because what I see often is people will get a system and they either have way more than they actually need, or more often they need something that their system doesn't have. Do you want to do online ordering? Are you going to be doing delivery? Do you want to integrate with the third-party delivery apps? What do you want from your inventory? Do you want to just count down on inventory, or do you want to have a program that allows you to identify where you're wasting food, or do you want it to spit out your P&L? What do you want it to do? I tell my clients, close your eyes, and in the perfect world, how do you want your business to run? Tell me everything. And then we ask more questions. But seriously though, find a partner. Don't ask, what should I buy, to people who don't know your business or system. So I see this a lot too. Okay, let me slow down right here because this drives me crazy. I see it online all the time. What POS should I buy? Oh God, that's like saying, what vehicle should I buy, to your neighbors? So your neighbor says, oh, you know what? You should get a moped. They're cost efficient on gas and they're not very expensive. They're super fun to drive. And you go, oh, that sounds great. I'll take your advice. I'll go get a moped. And then you pull your moped up to pull your boat and to latch it on because you guys are going to the lake for the weekend. but your moped can't pull that boat. And you're like, well, I didn't think about that. Well, your neighbor is not to blame. He didn't know what you needed that vehicle for. You just asked what vehicle should you buy, and he told you. It's very important that you identify what you need and shop from that place. Don't ask somebody who doesn't even understand your business what POS you should buy, because they also probably only know about 1 to 5 systems that they may have used over their life, and they're going to recommend the one that works best, but they're not going to take into a lot of consideration other things. The ones that show up first when you search it on Google, those are the ones that are spending the most money on advertising. I would avoid them. And then most importantly, take into account processing. So I'm going to go back to processing. Look for a system that is processor agnostic. The question you want to ask is, can I choose my own credit card processing company? Period. The answer is yes or no. Sometimes it's maybe, but we can talk about that later. I call this stepping over $1 to pick up a dime. I see it all the time. People go, oh, well, this POS is $70 a month, but this one's only $49 a month. And this one I can get free hardware. This one I got to pay $1,200 for the hardware. You're looking at the wrong thing altogether. First, start with processing. Start with which ones can I choose my own processor, because now you can get a really good rate. If you're saving 1 or 1.5% on your processing, you can get any POS you want. So I see this all the time. People will take, a couple $1,000s worth of free hardware from Toast, only to be paying $1,500 a month extra in processing into perpetuity. Well, after 2 months, Toast has all their money back, and now you're paying way more than you should every single month just to use Toast. And there are good systems out there. You don't have to. Okay, so that's all I really have to say on POS systems. Again, I'm a really big advocate of finding a partner. Find that broker, somebody who's independent. I told you I would tell you how to find a partner. Some ways you can do it. Number one, go to other business owners that you know. It doesn't matter. Well, it should be in your industry, and ask them this question. Do you have a person who handles your payment processing? A person, not a company, not a POS system. Do you have a person? You're going to have to ask way more than 5 or 6 people to find somebody who says, yes, I have somebody and they're fabulous. Get that person. That's somebody you want to talk to. Talk to some of your suppliers and your vendors, the guys that are selling you your liquor, the guys that are selling you your food. We credit card processing brokers, we love to partner with them because they care about their clients. They have a vested interest in their clients' financial health, and they use us as a tool oftentimes to reduce the fees that they're paying. So ask, they might have somebody. You can look into your local networking chapters. BNI, Business Something International is a good place. Look for a merchant service provider. Again, find somebody who's 1099, not W-2. Find somebody that's got food and beverage background or has clients that are in the restaurant industry, and make sure that person is not exclusive, not tied to any one company. That's the way you want to find a good partner. Here's my offer to everybody. So I'm willing to do a free statement analysis, no obligation, no cost. If you want to provide me with a merchant service statement, your credit card processing statement from a past month, I don't even care if you cross off all your customer information. I have no interest in following up or trying to sell you. What I'll do though is I'll extract the information and I'll show you what's negotiable and what's not. And the part that's negotiable, I'll let you know if there's room for it to go down or not. But I'll also look for some trick fees. I find a lot of stuff. You wouldn't believe what I find. Here's just a couple examples. This particular statement that I went over, I found that this bar was being charged a per transaction fee and a per authorization fee. It should be or. Would you know if you were getting double charged? That's a lot, 10 cents for each one. This is just Visa. This came to, I think it was like $600 or $700 just in these little fees right here that they were being overcharged. So we fixed that, obviously. This one's just straight up bogus fees. It's hard to see this, I know, but it says processor transaction risk fee. That's made up. You wouldn't know it. Silly stuff. This is a Heartland processing statement. They're the worst. I shouldn't say they're the worst. That's not cool. But I usually find stuff like this. They're charging 1.02% over cost. That is very, very high. But in addition to that, they're charging this particular restaurant 0.65% on just about all their volume because they weren't using a chip reader. So non-EMV. That's silly. Not everyone does that. Hardly anyone does it. In fact, I think Heartland might be one of the only ones. So this customer, we dropped their rates by about $1,400 a month every month, and we didn't have to change out any hardware. It was just paperwork. They're using micros. So when I do a statement analysis, like I said, I pull out, the important parts, and I really just show you what's what. For the vendors in the room, the suppliers in the room, if you want to extend this offer to your clients, you're welcome to. I do something called a blind analysis where if you want to get their statement, and again, black out with the magic marker, whatever, their customer name, their address, all the information. I have, like I said, no desire to, I'm not very good at sales and I just hate calling people, so I'm not going to, but I'll do a statement analysis for you. You can give it to them. And here's the deal. You can use this for whatever you want. If you want to take this to your current provider and say, hey, I got a quote from somebody else, wonder if you can match it, great. I don't care. As long as it gets you a better rate, I'm happy about that. If you want to work with me, I would welcome it. I would love to be your partner in payments, obviously. This down here, just real quickly, is a hotel I'm working with, and they've got about 7 revenue centers. This is just one of them. I just used it for example, but on this particular revenue center, they'll save about $2,700 overall. This company is going to save about $7,000 a month. This is a hotel. You would think they already had a really aggressive rate, but they don't. And having their statement overlooked by me gave us the ability to really see how much fat there is to trim. So I would love to do this for any of you. Anyone who's a summit participant or a vendor supplier that has clients, if you'd like me to, get in touch. Here's my information. I'm Jen at highdesertms.com. I hope you gained something from this. Hopefully you're not overspending on credit card processing. If you are, do something about it. Save that money. Right now, everyone's looking to save a buck. The economy is weird and everyone's looking for ways to cut costs. They're worried about the inflation, but meanwhile, they're paying a lot of money for credit card processing and they don't have to. This is very low-hanging fruit, and I hope you get it. Thanks for letting me be a part of the summit. Take care.